Hey guys, it's Ryan here with Hobbies Man once again, and today we're going to be doing another manga first impressions review. Today we're going to be looking at The Tree of Death, or Yomotsuhegui. Yomotsuhegui, I think I made sure to pronounce that right. This is drawn by Masumi Kakisaki, who is a mangaka that is quite well known for Rainbow specifically. I think that's the series most people know him from. However, has never been published in English before. This is the first time that he gets published in English, and this is his most recent series, which is maybe both good and a bad thing. Like, one, it's good because you get the best first impression of his work because it's his most refined, most new work that he's done, but also bad because that means that any previous work that they publish might get worse reception because it is less refined and less well executed because, you know, the mangaka was younger and did worse, work back then than he does now. Well, I mean, you know, art and artist growth isn't really linear like that, but you guys kind of get what I'm saying. At least that's kind of like something that I feel a lot when, I read Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive, right? That was the first time I read anything by Brandon Sanderson, and I love The Way of Kings. But going back to all of his previous works before, made it really hard because I was like, oh, well, I just read like the best version, and these are clearly worse off than, you know, the Stormlight Archive, and it made it really hard to read some of them, right? Like Elantris was like horrible to read. I DNF'd it because I was like, this cannot be the same guy. And Mistborn was better, but not significantly. Warbreaker was probably the only one that I found to be, you know, not necessarily on par with Stormlight, but like close to it. And I think that's actually in between the release of Elantris and Mistborn. So I don't know. But you guys kind of get what I'm saying. I had to do that long-winded explanation to kind of explain what I meant. You know, this mangaka is great. I love his work. I particularly enjoy Bestiarius. There's also Hideout if you like creepy stuff. And Rainbow, it's kind of like Prison Break, I guess, or maybe like a military series, right? Like Rainbow Six Siege, something like that. It has that kind of like Dean Koontz, Tom Clancy kind of vibe to it, but I've not really read too much of it. I think I've only read the first chapter or something. And there's other stuff. There's The Man and His Wife, or the Spy's Wife, or something like that. I can't remember what the English title is. And these are pretty available in the Spanish, Mexican, and French market. If you're interested in importing them, I would recommend you buy from the French market because it's really easy to get stuff from Lyrica. It's quite hard to get stuff from Spain post the death of Book Depository. And for Mexico, it's also quite hard to get, even though they're so close to us, right? But that's just because Mexico's bad at distributing stuff outside of its own country, right? So, yeah, or at least Mexico's bad at distributing its own products outside of its country, if that makes sense. So, yeah, but that is neither here or there. Let's talk about The Tree of Death. So, yeah, by Masumi Kakisaki. It's published by Seven Seas, as you guys can see right there. This is a very thick volume. It's $15. So you definitely pay for the amount of pages here, but it is significantly thicker than just about every other Seven Seas volume I've ever had. That wasn't like that is in this size. That wasn't a large omnibus, right? So, yeah, the demographic for this is seinen. The genre here is urban fantasy and body horror, and of course you have some sort of cosmic horror entity right there. There's also this kind of like religious undertone, which you can kind of argue is non-denominational. Like, it's not really Christian mythology, it's not really Shinto or Buddhist mythology. It's kind of just like this generic like mythology that kind of combines everything, and you can see kind of like each religion kind of took shades of the original story that is trying to be presented here, right? That's kind of how you could kind of argue that it is. But, you know, you don't really have to read it that way. I just kind of thought that it had that kind of setting because it has like this like Garden of Eden type thing. It has a death god, and it has like immortality and this fruit kind of thing. And so you can argue that it's kind of a lot of different religious things kind of mushed together, right? So, yeah, and it does not have an adaptation, and I doubt it will be the first Kakisaki work to get one because his work doesn't really get adaptations. I think it's just because his work is kind of, it's not unadaptable. it's just not long enough to adapt into anything meaningful or substantial. So that's why most of his stuff doesn't get adapted. So the premise here is that there's this cop, and he revenge killed someone who killed his family, and so he got put in jail. Now he's able to leave the jail. He's on parole, although the way that he moves around the city doesn't really seem like he's on parole. It seems like he's free completely, but they directly say he is on parole, as far as I remember. And so he realizes that he didn't kill one of the two people that murdered his wife, and so he decides to go and kill them. Turns out that this person is actually unkillable. They're immortal. And so this actually ends up awakening this Cthulhu power transformation thing that he has, and bringing about this other character that you can see back here, who is the goddess of death, who requires his help, since he has these special powers, to cull all of the other people that have this unsanctioned immortality, right? So, very interesting, very cool, and exciting kind of story. It reminds me of, like, there's a specific season of the originals, which is the Vampire Diaries spin-off show that happens in Louisiana. There's a very specific season, I can't remember which one, where the original vampires are being hunted by their mother and some witches and their sister and their father, who are all trying to get rid of the original vampires because they have come to realize that, you know, vampirism is bad, immortality is bad. And so there's this big fight. And it reminds me quite a bit of this kind of idea here, or at least a specific element in this book. So I quite liked it. I thought it was enjoyable. But yeah, what else is there to say? I mean, the artwork is amazing because Kakisaki's work is phenomenal. The story is quite good. And I also want to say that it has kind of really messed up topics. Like there is, sexual assault, slavery, insane violence, horrible gore, huge, disgusting body horror. So this might not really be for everyone, but if you're willing to tolerate those things for a good story, I recommend that you get this because I think it's quite good. This is significantly darker than any of the other stories that I remember reading from Masumi Kakisaki, but it might not be as messed up as Rainbow because I'm pretty sure that story is quite fucked up. But I hope that this book does good. I hope that this manages to bring in a lot of money for 7 Seas so that they can decide to trust this mangaka's works and bring all of his other ones, right? Because I really want to have Bestiarius in English. I have the Spanish edition, like the Mexican edition, but it's from when they used to print Japanese size volumes, so it's quite small. And I would like to have it in a larger format, right? So yeah, I do have some complaints though. So Masumi Kakisaki has these really phenomenal color pages, and 7 Seas decided to skimp out on them. So this should be in color. This should be in color, and actually the printing quality on this is quite good actually. So you can really see a lot of detail here, but in color it would have been better. These two should also be in color. And finally, these two, as well as this, should be in color. And the fact that this one is not in color is actually quite horrible. I really am very sad about this because I think that this is a phenomenal, illustration, and the fact that it was robbed of the fact that it was in color is quite bad. But yeah, let me see if I can show you some of the cool moments here. So here's him awakening his power in a fit of impotence, I guess is the right word here. Here's right before he goes crazy, right before he goes berserk. Here's well, this might be too gory for YouTube, so I'm not gonna do that. Here's another awesome page that should be in color. And let's see if there's anything else here. Look at this. This is awesome. Like, dude, that's so good, right? So, yeah, there really isn't too much else to say. The Tree of Death is a phenomenal series. I really recommend it. If you're a fan of Hell's Paradise, you'll probably like this. So go ahead and read it. If you wanted Hell's Paradise to be an urban fantasy set in the modern world, that is more or less what that is. So yeah, I recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.